Formula One fans, prepare yourselves, because what just happened is truly shocking. John Elkann has launched a devastating attack, a direct assault. But against whom? Leclerc or Hamilton? And most importantly, what does this mean for the future? Could Bearman replace Hamilton already in 2026, or perhaps even sooner? Elkann's declarations open unthinkable scenarios. Stay with us because this is an absolute bombshell. Monday brought truly shocking declarations as commentary on the recent Brazilian Grand Prix. Elkann clearly says to talk less and work more, referring to the drivers. When I first read the articles, I thought it was a journalist's interpretation. But unfortunately, John Elkann's statement is reported in an interview given to Sky's microphones. This makes it an extremely heavy declaration. It's a genuine attack directed at Ferrari's drivers. But which of the two pilots? To understand this, you need to carefully read what he declared, because from there you can deduce quite well that the target against whom this attack is launched is not Charles Leclerc. At least I don't believe it's him. Here are Elkann's exact words, accompanied by quite explicit video. Brazil was a great disappointment. If we look at the Formula One championship, we can say we have mechanics who are winning the championship with their performance, with everything that's been done in pit stops. It's true, Ferrari's mechanics are the fastest in pit stops. They're leading all Grands Prix in intervention times. This is a fact. The mechanics are excellent. Nobody denies this. If we look at our engineers, there's no doubt the car has improved during a recent Grand Prix. After summer, it seems there's been improvement on the disappointing early season behavior of the SF25. But wait a moment. They designed the SF25, Ferrari's technical office. Because we had an SF24 that worked well, then the front suspension layout was completely overhauled. Weight distribution was revolutionized, shortening the gearbox and moving all the weight back by 25 millimeters. So not exactly all the engineers were right, despite John Elkann declaring this. But let's continue with the declaration because here comes the hardest blow. If we look at the rest, though, it's not up to standard. So John Elkann says, we have the mechanics, the world's best, the engineers are the world's best, apart from the SF25. And if however we look at the rest, it refers to the drivers, we're not up to standard. And certainly we have drivers, and it's important they concentrate on driving. It's important drivers concentrate on driving, so the rest clearly refers to drivers, and that they speak less, because we have important races ahead of us still. It's not impossible to obtain second place, so drivers should, according to Elkann, concentrate on driving better and more, and speaking less. Speak less and work more, that's the message. Now, the reference is clearly directed, in my opinion, against Lewis Hamilton, in his disappointing Brazilian performance. Why? Because Leclerc did nothing wrong. He started very well and was taken out of the race by Kimi Antonelli's spin, triggered by Piastri. Moreover, Leclerc in post-race declarations expressed his opinion about Antonelli's maneuver, and telemetry demonstrates that Leclerc in his statements wasn't completely wrong. Quite the opposite. So it's clear that Leclerc isn't the object of John Elkann's attack, but it's clearly Hamilton, who throughout the race asked to retire without having patience to wait at least until the penalty was imposed, to avoid it being served in the next Grand Prix. What I'd like to say is that facing such heavy words launched by Elkann, the only conclusion you can draw is that probably Elkann is disappointed with Lewis Hamilton's season. He hasn't obtained what should be at least the bare minimum, at least in Ferrari's expectations. When a boss, a person at the top, expresses himself with very harsh words about some representative of his management, when a boss expresses himself with such sharp words, the person to whom the attack is destined has only to pack his bags and prepare to go home. Because the time a large company dedicates to this manager of whom they're not fully satisfied, he has just a few weeks left to remain in the company. It's a dismissal notice that Elkann gives to Hamilton. Elkann clearly wasn't satisfied with Hamilton, and this could open, in my opinion, unexpected scenarios until a few weeks ago. Already at the end of the 2025 season. Not in 2026, but already at the end of this year. Hamilton's race was extremely disappointing in Brazil. He messed up qualifying, started poorly, got involved in a couple of incidents until catching a penalty too. In the end, he was asking to retire. And this evidently didn't satisfy John Elkann, Ferrari's owner, to the point that Elkann himself expressed himself in an extremely critical manner. It's clear it doesn't refer to Charles Leclerc. What I imagine could happen is that in the contract between Ferrari and Hamilton, there were clauses protecting both parties. In other words, Ferrari would have reserved, given the contract amount paid to Hamilton, clauses whereby if minimum result levels weren't obtained within a certain period of the season, the party can evidently give their collaborator a dismissal notice. I believe this condition has now occurred in the relationship between Hamilton and Ferrari, and also seeing Oliver Bearman's last race in Brazil, and seeing that Oliver Bearman's contract belongs to Ferrari, I wouldn't exclude a plot twist at the end of 2025. With an early termination of the relationship between Ferrari and Hamilton, and entry for the 2026 season of Bearman. Unless someone wants to recall to the team the always brilliant Carlos Sainz, who left to make space for an overpaid driver. Lewis Hamilton, on whom in the contract they invested money that must benefit Ferrari, and who after this summer hasn't at all satisfied management. Not only us fans, but evidently also Ferrari's management. I see Hamilton in very bad shape, and this attack coming from John Elkann really seems like a dismissal notice at season's end. It's a bit like saying, thanks for the work you've done for us, but we don't intend to continue the relationship beyond this season's end. This is the reading I give. It's difficult for a boss, an owner of a large company, to express himself with very harsh words toward his own management. Because when this happens, it's an invitation to change jobs. That's how I read it. Maybe the facts will prove me wrong, or reality will be different. But you can't keep for 2 years 100 million euros and give a result like what we saw in Brazil. This is the reality of facts under everyone's eyes. And then, who better than Oliver Bearman to replace Hamilton? He's young, he's fast, he's hungry, and most importantly, he's Ferrari property. His Brazilian race was spectacular. He demonstrated he can compete, he can fight, he can bring results. Bearman already knows the environment, has already driven the Ferrari, already has experience, and costs much less than Hamilton. Much, much less. Not 100 million for 2 years, but a fraction of that figure. Or there's the Carlos Sainz option, the always brilliant Carlos, who was kicked out to make space for Hamilton, and who at Williams is showing how much he's worth. Sainz knows Ferrari, knows the team, knows the car, and has always brought results. Recalling Sainz would be admitting the error, but it would also be the quickest, safest, most proven solution. Sainz would give stability, would give results, would give points, something Hamilton isn't doing this season. Charles Leclerc obviously has nothing to do with these criticisms expressed to Sky's microphones by John Elkann. Charles is doing his maximum, bringing home podiums, maximizing every opportunity. Leclerc is the driver Ferrari can count on, the driver who's saving the season, the driver who deserves respect and support. Not criticism, not torpedoes, not public attacks. But for Hamilton, the future is extremely uncertain. After these words from Elkann, after this public attack, how can he continue? How can he concentrate? How can he give his maximum when the president himself has practically fired him publicly? It's an unsustainable situation, embarrassing, devastating for Hamilton, for Ferrari, for everyone. And the only solution could be precisely early contract termination, the dismissal notice, and Bearman's entry. We'll follow developments, see what happens in coming weeks, coming Grand Prix. If Hamilton will react, if he'll find motivation, or if instead he'll confirm that the relationship with Ferrari is now finished. And if Bearman will continue impressing, demonstrating his value, showing he's ready for the big leap for the Ferrari seat to replace the 7-time world champion. Elkann's attack has opened unthinkable scenarios. Hamilton could leave, Bearman could arrive already in 2026, or perhaps even sooner. Formula One never stops surprising, and this is the most incredible story of the season. Stay tuned.